ready for some football. I don't know about you. Who else could it be but your man Lou? Yeah.
The LouieTeeNetwork is powered by MusicHead University. MusicHeads, classes in session. Turn me up. Enroll on YouTube now. Link is in the description.
Who else could it be but me, your man, Louie T? Welcome to Monday Night Football overtime. Eagles, Chiefs, rematch of Super Bowl 57, and what a great game it was tonight. Didn't know the weather was going to be as bad as it was. I was actually disappointed when I saw the telecast come on and all of that rain, and I knew it was going to be somewhat of a sloppy game, and it was. You knew it was going to be somewhat low scoring, and maybe that would have been the tenor that the game took on regardless, because these were two good teams and they weren't going to give up a ton. But I thought the weather really impacted probably what both teams were able to do offensively. That said, it was a game that, if you're a Chiefs fan, I've been screaming. I feel like everything that I've been talking about this season, for the most part, came to fruition tonight. With the Chiefs, I talked about this not being a good second half team. You know, when they do their damage, for the most part, it's in the first half. You know, you could look at a ton of games this season, the Chargers game, the Dolphins game, this game. They don't score a lot of points in the second half of games. And when you play back a lot of these games this season and you look at the stark contrast between what they were able to do in the first half versus what they were able to do in the second half, it just continues to be a theme. I've talked about the lack of production from the receiver position. I said, this is going to be an issue. And if you're Kansas City, you have to do something at the trade deadline if you're serious about winning another Super Bowl. They went out and got Mecole Hardman, and I said, that's not enough. You got something else up your sleeve, because if that's the best you're going to do, I think you're going to ultimately meet your demise at some point in the playoffs because of this kind of performance like we saw tonight. Drops all over the place. Some of it may be weather aided, but look, these guys lead the league in drops for a reason, so I don't think this was a weather issue. Justin Watson drops the football. Packers fans are saying, I didn't see anything different there. That's what MVS has been doing his entire career, dropping the damn football, especially the deep ones, right? If you're the Philadelphia Eagles and the defense was really good for the Chiefs. Again, that's what it's been. They've been the catalyst that's powered this football team. Kelsey with the fumble. That was the turning play in the game, I think. That fumble, to me, was the equivalent of the fumble that we saw last night from Alexander Mattison when the Vikings were about to put the game away. He fumbles. It changes everything, and Denver comes back and wins. That's what the fumble from Travis Kelce was tonight. Great play by Bradley Roby to punch it out. But that fumble, when you're up 17-14, and they're going for a touchdown, it's going to be 24-14, and that's probably going to be the game. And he fumbles there, and it keeps Philadelphia in the game within striking distance, and they ultimately came back and won. If you're the Eagles, this game continues to hammer home the point that I feel about the Eagles. This team is more talented offensively than they were a year ago. This team is less talented defensively than they were a year ago. This team is better coached defensively than they were a year ago. This team is poorly coached or worse coached offensively. And eventually, I think it's going to catch up to them. But the best teams in the league find ways to win games, and I can't stress that enough. And when you look at the Philadelphia Eagles, every week it's different. It doesn't always look the same, but the results are the same, and that's all you're after. Dan Campbell said it best a couple of weeks ago when the Lions won a 41-38 shootout. Look, don't apologize for how you win a football game. Just find a way to win. They didn't have a lot of offensive yards. They looked out of sync for much of the night. They were dominated up front in the first half on both sides of the football, which is not an Eagles staple. That's what they do to oppositions. They don't do that. You know, they don't allow teams to dominate them up front. They got gutted in the first half of this game, but they were right where they needed to be when the game was in the balance. They hung around. They tightened up defensively in the second half. They cleaned up some of the run issues that they were having in terms of stopping the run. They made big plays when big plays had to be made, and they come out on top in this football game. Of course, aided by some Chiefs mistakes. That's not their problem. You know, that they can't control that. But This is the thing I will say as a fan who despises the Eagles and is watching and hoping for their demise. I'm not going to hide this shit. I can't stand the Eagles, but I love good football, and the Eagles play good football. I love that they keep winning these types of games because I think it's leading them to this false sense of security like they're that team, like they were last year. Last year, they were beating people up physically and mentally, and they're not that team this year. However, what they gained from last year is the resiliency that no matter where we are in a football game, we have a chance to win, and we have that winning pedigree. And that's why I think you're seeing it play out the way that it's playing out this season, where they're winning a lot of games that they're getting dominated in. The two Washington games, they were dominated in those games, specifically the second one in particular. They were dominated in that game. Okay, the first one, it was kind of tit for tat. And honestly, if the officials in that first game, there were some questionable calls in both games, honestly, but that's nor here nor there. They found a way to win, but they were dominated. They were dominated in the game against Dallas. It is what it is, but they found a way to win, and that's what matters. They were dominated again tonight. Even Joe Buck said, it's amazing that this is a 3-point game. It doesn't feel like it because they were dominated tonight, but they found a way to win. And eventually, I feel like they're going to, and I hope it happens when it matters most. Like I'm not too concerned about the regular season. You can go 16-1, 15-2, 14-3, whatever it ends up being. But if they get to the postseason and they have one of these types of performances, they may not be as lucky. They may not force that fumble in the red zone. They may not get the drop from the receiver who would have scored the game-winning touchdown. They may not get the drop on 3rd down or 4th down like they got tonight from Justin Watson on both 3rd and 4th down. I actually thought that last play was pass interference. Darius Slay was there early, but that's no here nor there. Then you're not going to get that call on 4th and 21, and nor should you get that call on 4th and 21. You shouldn't be in 4th and 21 to begin with. But I just like that they're building this false sense of security. They're a good football team. They're finding ways to win. That's the name of the game. But I think they're going to run into somebody when it matters most, and whether that's San Francisco, Detroit, or even Dallas again. I mean, I think that game that they play against Dallas in Week 14 is going to be pretty interesting because they may see those same Cowboys when the playoffs come around again. Because I really think that this Eagles team, they don't have the offensive firepower that they had a season ago, and I don't think their defense is good enough to overcome the fact that they lack that offensive firepower. So eventually, I think they could run into somebody that plays a good enough game, doesn't make the mistake. You're a Dak Prescott 2-point conversion stepping out of bounds. You're a drop Marquez Valdez-Scantling / drop or a fumble by Travis Kelce from losing those 2 games in particular. Terry McLaurin's foot was in bounds and they ruled it out of bounds. You're a Terry McLaurin foot out of bounds, or hell, just a Ronald Rivera, decision to go for 2 points away from losing three games potentially, right? But that's the way that this league goes, is that 1 or 2 decisions, 1 or 2 plays, and the Eagles always find a way to make those plays. And that's what makes them the best team in the NFL right now at 9-1. I didn't see the pass rush tonight from the Eagles defensively like I thought I would. Like, it started out like gangbusters. I see Hassan Reddick duck that shoulder under Jawan Taylor, and I'm like, oh, shit, it could be a long night, right? And really, Patrick did a great job of maneuvering in and out of the pocket, creating more time, kind of keeping them off balance. I thought they ran the football, obviously in the first half, especially very effectively. I thought they got away from the run a little bit in the second half. I also do think the Eagles did a much better job of stopping the run, too. That helps. A lot of penalties, too. I think they shot themselves in the foot, did the Chiefs, in the second half with a ton of penalties. But enough of the Chiefs. We'll come back to them. To the victors go the spoils. Let's talk about Philadelphia and how they got this done. The thing I love the most is just how calm, cool, and collected Jalen Hurts is at all times. Like, it was not a pretty first half. He was sacked 5 times. They weren't in any kind of offensive rhythm. He throws a bad pick. And even into the second half, that third quarter, it was a struggle, right? They're still not having any offensive fluidity. They can't get anything going. It doesn't. And luckily enough for them, the defense stepped up. When it's 17-7 and the defense for Kansas City gets 2 stops, you're holding your breath as an Eagles fan because this thing could get out of control. And Kadarius Toney gets a really good punt return out to the 40-yard line. And you're thinking, hey, if our defense doesn't step up, and really, to me, it was the penalties that hurt the Chiefs in a lot of these situations. They get a first down, and then they had a nice 6-yard run from Isaiah Pacheco, but it's called back due to holding his 1st and 20, and they don't convert. They had that happen on 2 drives in the second half in particular. So the penalties, the holding penalties were really killing them. The one on Travis Kelce, the one on the guard, and I didn't even see anything there on that particular one on Trey Smith. I thought that was a bit of a phantom holding call. That destroyed that drive. So the Eagles took advantage of some penalties and mistakes on the part of the Chiefs, and they were able to get off the field defensively, and that was huge because the offense just didn't have it. And, that's complementary football. We hear about that term all the time, right? Your offense is struggling. They can't get into a rhythm. It's the job of the defense to keep the game within striking distance until the offense figures it out. And what did this defense do? While their offense was struggling and the Chiefs had 2 opportunities up 17-7 to extend at least even a field goal, burning some more clock and kicking a field goal to extend to a 13-point game would have changed everything in this game. Instead, the Eagles continuously got off the field defensively and got the ball back to their offense until they were able to have that explosive play. And that, to me, was the difference in the game, is the Eagles had explosive plays. They had the DeAndre Swift jet sweep, which was, I thought, the play that really got them back into the game, gave them that jolt that they needed offensively because they were dead. They were lifeless offensively. He gets that jet sweep, breaks that big run, gets them down inside the red zone, and they are able to cap that drive off with the Jalen Hurts quarterback draw a touchdown. And just like that, a game where you seem like you've been sleepwalking, Chiefs have been dominant. It's now a 3-point game, 17-14. And I thought the defense just continued to take advantage of Chiefs' mistakes, but also did a really good job of getting off the field on 3rd downs. They struggled in the first half. The Chiefs at one point were 5 of 6 on 3rd downs. Mahomes was 6 of 6 passing on 3rd downs to start this game. And 5 of those 6 completions were conversions on 3rd down. So they were killing the Eagles in the first half on 3rd downs. They found ways to get off the field. And again, some of it, the doing of the Chiefs dropping balls and not taking advantage of some opportunities. Kelce would have dropped, Watson would have dropped, things of that nature. But that's out of your control. All you can do is control what you can control. And I thought they did a great job of continuing to get off the field and avoiding the big mistake. There was almost a massive mistake after the Kelce fumble on the wide receiver screen. Man, those secondary guys in Kansas City do a hell of a job. Jerry Sneed blows the screen up, ball's in the air. And if A.J. Brown, he didn't even know where the ball was at. If he's not in the way there, that's probably a pick 6 because McDuffie was tracking that thing. And if A.J. Brown doesn't get in the way, he's probably going to go get that football. So they avoided the big mistake. Hurts had one on the ground, a strip. That could have been the ball game right there, right? I don't know how the hell Hurts managed to reach down and pick that shit up. Normally in that position, when a guy tries to reach down and pick up a ball around traffic, they tell you when you're in the country, you can pick up the football. When you're in the city, you got to fall on that thing. He didn't follow directions. Okay, he picked it up, and I don't know how the hell he was able to pick that thing up without it getting knocked out of his hand. That's a big time recovery, right? Because that could have easily turned into a Chiefs touchdown, right? Three or 4 plays later, they could have been in the end zone. Instead of it being 17-7.5, it could have been 21-7. And now we're talking about a totally different ball game. So the Eagles just hung in there. But I talked about the DeAndre Swift big jet sweep. He also had a nice screen catch and run. And then you had the explosive Devontae Smith catch down to the 1-yard line. It was about explosive plays. The Chiefs lacked them in this game. The Eagles got them when they mattered most, made the plays when it was winning time. And that's what the Chiefs have been lacking this year. We'll get to them in a second. But the Eagles have made plays in winning time, whether it's defensively. We've seen them do it against Washington, 38-31, sack Sam Howell, and that essentially ends the game, right? Against the Dallas Cowboys, they get to Dak Prescott, sack him, clock's running, essentially pushes them out of the range that they need to be to take shots to the end zone with no more timeouts. They made the play defensively that they had to make. Tonight, yep, got a big drop. But guess what? Mahomes still had 3rd and 10, right? That didn't have to be the story. They get the intentional grounding on the very next snap, force a 4th and 21, and that was pretty much all she wrote. So they continue to make those big plays when those plays have to be made in those situations. It's amazing watching the Eagles persevere. You know, a lot of adversity tonight on the road, down 10 at halftime, and you hang in there. You hang in there. You buy your time, and then all of a sudden the opportunity presents itself. And unlike the Chiefs tonight, they took full advantage of that opportunity. When it presented itself, they did not allow that opportunity to pass by. They make the play. Devontae Smith down to the 1, into the end zone goes Jalen Hurts on the brotherly shove. And now, again, the game's not over there at 21-17. You got to get a stop. They got the stop. So, big win, man. On the road, keeps you ahead of the Detroit Lions at 9-1 for the best record in the NFC, in the NFL, excuse me. But in the NFC in particular, because Detroit is right there at 8-2. And so this is the stretch of football that we talked about. You know, Dolphins, Commanders, Cowboys, Chiefs, Bills, right? This was the stretch. They're taking care of business. That's 3-0 in this tough stretch of ball. 49ers are coming up, right? These were the games that we talked about. How are they going to respond? Dallas again. So far, so good. 9-1, 3-0 in that stretch. They'll go back home for 2 straight against 2 of the best teams in the NFL, 2 of the better teams. Right? The Bills haven't proven to be one of the best, but we know when they played their best, they're one of the best. And they played a good game this past week against the Jets, and we'll see if they can take that energy and that momentum and parlay that into a good showing against the Eagles. I don't like the Bills in that spot against the Eagles, but we'll see what happens there. Meanwhile, if you're Kansas City, this has been your MO, and I kind of already laid that out. This is who you've been this season. This is what you've done, and this is who you have. And I don't think this Chiefs team is going to represent the AFC in the Super Bowl. I think somebody's going to clip their wings at some point in the playoffs. Don't ask me who, with no Joe Burrow, with Josh Allen and company struggling, with the Dolphins looking incapable of beating teams with winning records. I don't know who it'll be. I don't know if I don't think it's Jacksonville. I don't think they're ready, right? But somebody over on that side of the bracket, and maybe it's the Ravens. Maybe it's finally their time. I don't know. Somebody's going to clip their wings this year, though, because they don't have enough offensive firepower. And, in past years, they would have won this game. They would not have lost this football game. They would have made the plays when the plays were there to be made. They don't have that guy that Mahomes can go to other than Kelsey that will make a play. Like, he's forcing the ball to Justin Watson. He's Justin Watson for a reason. Valdez-Scantling is who he is, right? He'll make that same play, but he also dropped that play. We've seen him make that catch, but we know he can drop that catch. That's been his career. You don't know if he's going to catch it or drop it. You just hold your breath and hope this is the time he's going to make the catch. But they've always had that one receiver they could rely on in the past. Used to be multiple. When this first started with Patrick Mahomes, it was Tyreek Hill and it was Samuel Watkins. Then it became just Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce, right? But you always had Kelce and Hill, and it was Sammy Watkins at first. Then it was just Hill and Kelce, but you couldn't stop those two. Then Hill goes on about his business, but at least you still had Kelce and you had Juju Smith-Schuster, right? Guy you could force it to in those situations and know he was going to catch the football. You don't have that guy. Rashee Rice isn't ready to assume that role just yet. I think in a year or two, he could be a Juju Smith-Schuster type, but he's not ready to be that guy yet, which is why I thought it was imperative that you make a serious move at the trade deadline to go get somebody. Sky Moore has been very disappointing. They haven't gotten what they thought they were going to get out of him. And, Kadarius Toney actually played well tonight, especially in the punt return game, but he isn't what you want in a receiver. Mecole Hardman isn't going to give you what you are looking for. And it's not going to be Justin Watson or MVS. You don't have that guy at wide receiver, and that is going to be your downfall. Because when Kelce is taken away, who's going to step up and make the play? They don't have a guy. And that has always been my gripe with them this season. And I think that's part of the reason you've seen the struggles in the second half. Teams make adjustments. You know, they have penalties in the second half of these games that push them, you know, into longer down and distances, and nobody's going to make a play. I think they've got to get McKinnon more involved in the offense. If you're not going to have receivers step up, then you got to start isolating your running backs and taking advantage of some of these other matchups and see if you can't win that way. But you're going to have to take some of the pressure off of these receivers because they're just not good enough. And so this is another second half in which the Chiefs barely score. They didn't score at all in the second half of this game. I don't know if they scored much in the second half of the Detroit game in week 1. I know for a fact they didn't score very much in the second half against Denver, I think in either of the 2 Denver games. I know for a fact they didn't score very much against the Chargers in the second half of that game. Dominated the first half, really didn't do much in the second half, but did enough because the Chargers didn't score at all in the second half, and that's why they won. Same with the Dolphins game. They jumped out to a 21-0 lead and hung on for dear life because they didn't score a single point in the second half of that game over in Germany. So this is a team that has struggled with second half efficiency all season long. I think part of that is the inability to have a guy that you can go to that will make a play for you on a 3rd and 6. They lacked that tonight. They've lacked it all season. And when that big play needed to be made, even Kelce struggled tonight. Even he was in his own head tonight. You know, after the fumble, he wasn't right. You know, dropped that pass on the 3rd down and brought up a crucial 4th down that they were able to convert. And they went back to Travis Kelce, coincidentally enough, and he made the play. But it was too many mistakes, too many drops, too many missed opportunities. Guys running routes wrong. Mahomes chucking it deep. Guys are open, but you got Watson running like he's running a post. Where are you going, bro? It's a 9 ball. You should be running that thing on that red line, right? Why are you cutting inside? Mahomes is throwing you away from the defender up the field. Mahomes with a bad interception. Same with Hurts. Both of those kind of washed each other out. But Mahomes got Watson going across the field. Lead him across the field towards the back pylon. It's an easy touchdown. He throws it sort of like back shoulder-ish and allowed the safety Kevin Byard to get back into the play and pick it off. It just wasn't a cohesive night offensively for the Chiefs, especially in the second half, especially with the mistakes, the penalties, the drop passes, the missed opportunities. They did it to themselves. You know, when it's all said and done, you won this game in just about every statistical category except the 2 that matter the most usually in an NFL game: turnovers and the scoreboard. And that'll get you just about every time. Is you don't take care of your business in the turnover department, that can usually come back and bite you in the ass in the scoreboard department. And that's what happened. You couple that with all the mistakes, the penalties and the drops, you were asking to lose this football game. And you leave a team like Philadelphia around long enough, you let them hang around, this is what's going to ultimately happen. And so I look at both of these teams. I think they're respectively 2 of the better teams in their conferences. With Philadelphia, they're the best team in the NFC. No questions about it right now. For the AFC, I see Kansas City right now, and I just say, who's going to step up and beat them? Because they're very beatable this year. Very, very beatable this season. Who's going to do it, though? With no Joe Burrow, that's who I was counting on to come and take the mantle because I know they ain't scared. Who's going to step up and say, all right, it's our time? Because it's not going to be Cleveland with their quarterback situation being what it is. It's not going to be the Steelers. They couldn't score if you took all 11 of your defenders off the field, right? It's not going to be Miami, I don't think. I don't think they're ready, personally. I don't think it's definitely not the Texans, right? These are the teams that right now, if the playoffs started, they'd be in. It's got to be, and I don't think it's Jacksonville, even though Jacksonville hung tough with them earlier in the season, 17-9. I don't think it's Jacksonville, right? It's got to be Baltimore or bust. And I don't want to leave out Buffalo because they're fully capable. I just don't think they are in the right mindset this year. I don't think they're where they need to be mentally, but there's still a lot of football left to be played, and maybe Buffalo can turn it around, hit their stride, and figure this thing out. We'll see. Yesterday was a right step or a big step in the right direction, but I just don't see them as a Super Bowl team this year. They'll get probably back to the AFC Championship game, but I don't know if I see them representing the AFC in a championship this year. In the Super Bowl. I don't know. We'll see. With the Eagles, something to me about them that screams losing their first game of the playoffs. I really could see this Eagles team dominating, similar to like the Ravens in 2019. Dominant performance, number 1 seed overall. You get it to the playoffs, you're at home, your crowd is screaming, you're juiced up, and the first game you play, you get clipped. I could easily see that happening in Philadelphia this year because of what I've said all season long. You're super talented offensively. I don't think you're well coached offensively. You're less talented defensively. I think you're better coached defensively, but I still don't think that group, that unit is that strong. Right. So we'll see if the Eagles are able to continue to find ways to win games. It's one thing to do it in the regular season. It's another thing to do it in the postseason where everybody's good, and the margin for error is a lot shorter and smaller. 9-1. That's a pretty significant sample size of them finding ways to win games, even when, and I'm over Eagles fans talking about, and we still haven't played our best game. This is who you are. 10 games of this now. Okay. There's no, we're gonna flip the switch. You use that in week 4, 5, 6. We're 10 games in now. Okay. This is who you are. This is how you're gonna have to win football games. Finding ways to win. There is no switch. There is no next level. There is no, and we still haven't played a full game. This is who you are. This is who you're going to be. And if you're going to win, it's going to look like this. So either you're going to win like this or you're going to lose like this. There is no, we haven't put it all together yet. You're not going to put it together. This is what together looks like for you. A lot of Eagles fans are in denial. That's fine. This is what together looks like for you. Finding a way to win at the very end. That's a dangerous way to live in this league, however, because now I will say it builds up a callus. Because when you get to the playoffs, you're going to be playing some close games, more likely than not. You're going to play some tight ball games. It won't be like last year, where you get the Giants and you curb stomp them, and then you knock the 49ers quarterback out of the game, and you're able to just skate to the Super Bowl. You're going to have to win some close games, more likely than not, this year. And what you've effectively done is you've trained your mentals to be able to find a way to get it done in close ball games. That's going to benefit you. If nothing else, I will say this, because last year you were boat racing a lot of teams. You were up 24 points at halftime, and then you would take your foot off the gas pedal. That was my biggest criticism. If that's my biggest criticism of you, that means I'm reaching. I'm looking to grab something, right? I got nothing. My biggest criticism is you don't have KI. You're not looking to absolutely cut somebody in their major artery and watch them bleed out. If that's my biggest argument, is that instead of putting a 40 spot on somebody, you stopped at 34 or you stopped at 31. What are we talking about? That was the problem last year. You don't have that capability this year. Have the Eagles blown anybody out, as a matter of fact? Now that I think about it, have they blown anybody out this season? They had to have. I mean, every team they've played hasn't been good. So they have to have beaten up somebody this year. I just don't know who. Have they played the Giants yet? No, they haven't wasted any of their Giants yet. They got those at the end of the season. I don't know if they've beaten anybody up. But in doing that, they've learned how to win close games. And that's going to be important down the stretch. Anyway, I digress. Let's see. Let's get to the comment section. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you, my guy, Mike Jink. Congrats on the win, my man. Big win on the road. Big dub. Mike Jink, thank you for being a member of the MOBB rights. Big Lou, Mike, talk to your boy. 9-1. Keep stacking them. That's what it's about, man. Find a way to put another brick in the left-hand column, bro. That's all it's about. Again, we ain't going to talk about what the score was 3 weeks from now. We just going to say, did you beat Kansas City or not? Is it in the left-hand column or the right-hand column? It's in the left-hand column. That's where it needs to be. Keep stacking them up like bricks, bro. We can overanalyze the game right now, but in 2-3 weeks from now, we ain't going to be talking about it. If you see Kansas City down the road, in the Super Bowl, we'll bring it back up and we'll overanalyze the game again, right? But to hell with it. You got the dub. Get the hell out of Arrowhead and don't look back, right? You're 9-1. That's what it's about, man. Big win. Mike Jink, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Who writes, we have to find an OC to have. We have to find a OC. Have 2 unnecessary screens. Look, he's the first-year offensive coordinator. I'm not going to kill him. He's doing an okay job. It's not nearly as good as Shane Steichen last year, but I didn't expect it to be. I do think he leaves a lot to be desired, but he's young, so I'm not gonna kill Brian Johnson as a first-year offensive coordinator. I'll just say it's just not good. It's not going to be what it was last year. And if you're an Eagles fan, you just have to come to grips with that. Like, how many quarterback draws did you call tonight? Like, I was like, what are you doing? That's trash, right? One of them, I think, went for a first down. One went for a touchdown. 2 of them were stopped. I'm like, how many of these shits you gonna call? Like, I get it. You have a quarterback. You got a center in Kelsey that can get out in front of these things and make them work. But how many times you gonna call these damn quarterback draws? Like, the creativity from last year just isn't there to me. A lot of meat left on the offensive bone with the kind of talent that you have in Philadelphia. And obviously you miss Dallas Goedert, so him not being in the lineup is going to impact your offense. And you saw a little bit of it tonight. They love going to the tight end, especially Hurts, using him as somewhat of a safety valve, not being there. That's gonna stunt this offense's growth a little bit. But I've said this already. I've said it all season long. I'm going to continue to say it because I believe this. You have a much more talented offense than you had last year. You're less talented on defense. You're much better coached on defense, however, and that may be the difference, right? But you kind of balance that scale. Not as talented defensively, but I think Sean Desai is a better defensive coordinator than Jonathan Gannon was. And then offensively, you got more talent. And if Shane Steichen had this same talent, you see what Indy's doing offensively this year. They were the last team in the league to not have a 20-point game this season. They literally started the season off with 9 straight weeks of 20 points or more in every contest. And then they had that last game against New England when they only scored 10. What was it? 13 or whatever the number was. And they won the game, 13-7 or whatever the score was against New England. So that was their first time not scoring over 20. He's so much more creative, and he would have been doing a lot more with this offense, but find a way to win. That's what you've been doing. Keep it going. 9-1, best record in the NFL. Drinkable Measy, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Drinkable Measy writes, this kind of feels similar to when we played Philly. Wide receiver couldn't catch the ball at the end. I don't know who we are. I just know that the Eagles have been in a lot of these close games, and defensively, they've made the plays. Offensively, what I love about them, and I thought they were going to do it again tonight. I was convinced that when the Chiefs had to punt after they took the lead, 21-17, the Chiefs then had the football, and they had to punt. And the Eagles got the rock back. And I said, oh, my God, they're going to do it again. I think they got a first down or 2. And then the Chiefs got the stop they needed to get the ball back to Mahomes that one final time. But I said, oh, my God, they're going to do what they did to the Rams. They're going to do what they did to the Buccaneers. They're going to close this game out on offense. And if you had done that, That would have been super impressive. It would have changed the whole way I viewed this win, because you've done that numerous times this year where you've been in a close ball game and you got the football with about 5 or 6 minutes left, sometimes maybe 4, it doesn't matter. And you just taking the air out of that thing and dominated the line of scrimmage and didn't give it back to the opposition, right? And I've already, charted games like that. The Rams game comes to mind. The Bucks game early in the season comes to mind, right? I thought you were going to do that again. And I was like, if they do that to end this game, wow. But of course you weren't able to do that. That DeAndre Swift screen almost popped though. I think even if Tranquil doesn't make that play, I saw Mike Edwards, the safety, come up. There was another defender, offset to him outside. I don't think he would have gotten. It was 3rd and 20. I don't think he would have gotten the first down, but he might have gotten 14 or 15, and it might have given Sirianni something to think about. He might have thought about going for it, because if you convert that, the game's pretty much over. But them not giving it back to Kansas City and seeing Kansas City miss an opportunity is just another one of those situations where you say, man, it's better to be lucky than good. People don't want to hear that, but that's facts. It's better to be lucky than good. Dewan Tashim, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes, Josh Sweat and Hassan Reddick are clutch, man. Elite. They get it done, especially Hassan Reddick, man. I've been impressed with him in those big moments. I think he had the sack against Dallas, the one on Prescott. I know he had the sack against us late in that ball game, pretty much in that one. And then somebody had pressure. I don't remember. I don't know who was the initial pressure that forced Mahomes out of the pocket, but Sweat looping around. That's not on the tackle. Like, Sweat didn't win initially, but Mahomes vacating the pocket. Whoever created the initial pressure is the person that should be given the credit on that play that Josh Sweat ultimately made. Now, great job by Sweat of continuing to hustle and get that backside pressure. But if Mahomes was able to do what he had done most of the night, which is step up in the pocket instead of veering backwards and trying to escape outside, that sack doesn't happen from Josh Sweat, or that intentional grounding doesn't happen, rather. So credit whomever got the initial pressure. And if that was Hassan Reddick, that guy, when it matters most, he's the one that steps up for this team, it seems like, when they have to have it. Rocky D, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, this year's Chiefs offense is what Washington offense could have looked like at best if the play calling was better. Easily 7-3 this year. Agree. I wouldn't compare our offense to the Chiefs' offense, because our offense has actually been better than theirs this season, if we're being honest. In terms of, we don't have, like, for instance, how many shot plays did you see tonight? They were running the shit out of the football. How many shot plays did you see? 5, 6? Look, they didn't hit any of them, but they attempted them, right? How many shot plays did you see in the Washington game? And again, some of it is maybe you called a shot play and the offensive line didn't get it done. I'm not allowing that to be an excuse, because you can go full max protect and get a shot play off. But they just haven't gotten it done. I assure you, if you gave the Chiefs our receivers, this isn't even a compliment. They'd be averaging 38 points a game if you gave them Terry McLaurin and Jahan Dotson. It wouldn't even be a contest. But because their offense looks a lot like ours in terms of how we run the football. Like, watching their offense, if you're keen to what's been going on and your eyes are trained to know what you're looking at, we're running the identical same plays. Like, they're in much difference. EB literally copied and pasted the Chiefs offense and brought it to Washington with him, which is what you expect. That's all he's known for the last 5 years. But they just run it way more effectively. They got better offensive linemen. They got a quarterback that is light years ahead of where our quarterback is in his development. And they got a head coach that has a much better feel of calling games. And so there's just so much that they just do better than Washington offensively. The two are not the same. They're not even comparable. But it's crazy to say it, because They've struggled this season. I don't even know how many points they're averaging this year. I mean, Washington isn't averaging a ton, so I can't say that we're averaging more, but it's not what we are used to from the Chiefs. I've said that enough. You guys have seen it. You know it. I don't need to keep explaining that. I don't talk about Washington's offense because while the offense hasn't been good all season, long for them, it hasn't been consistent. I'll say that. It's done enough to put us in positions to win more than 4 games. It's more about the defense. And I've said this already. I don't need anything from Kansas City offensively. Just give me their defensive coordinator. And Washington is 7-4 or 8-3 right now this season. Give me Spags. Drinkable Measy. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Who writes, is it me or did Kansas City abandon the run in the second half, Lou? It may have felt that way. I don't think they abandoned it. I'm going to tell you what happened. And I had said something to that effect earlier where I was like, man, I thought they got away from the run a little bit. But as you sit and think about it, 1, Philadelphia got better at stopping it. But 2, even when they popped some good runs, there were some good hits in the run game. Hold it. So instead of you having 2nd and 4 after a nice 6-yard run, there was a nice little Pacheco 8-yard run, off the right side, and they called Travis Kelce for a holding, right? There was a nice little 6-yard Pacheco run, and they called Trey Smith for holding. And I thought Kelce's was clearly a holding penalty. Like, that's not even debatable, right? I don't even know what he was complaining about. Like, bro, you almost took the man pads off. What are we talking about right now? But Trey Smith, so I'm like, that's not holding. What are we doing here, right? But that takes you out of running the football. I mean, if you want to run on 1st and 20, be my guest. The Eagles will give it to you. But you more likely are looking to get 8 they'll give you 8 on a hitch. So take the 8, get it to 2nd and 12. Then get 6 of that and get you to 3rd and 6 and try to convert. And that's exactly what they did. They got to 3rd and 4, and then Justin Watson dropped the ball right through his hands. I think the run was taken out of the equation by a lot of those penalties. I really do. They really shot themselves in the foot with penalties in the second half in particular. Vincent Coe, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, we just can't beat the Rams. It's funny because my dad, boss man, picked the Rams. And I was thinking to myself, well, that's a loss, right? And I remember the Rams spanking Seattle in week 1, went there and beat the brakes off of them. Had us thinking maybe we had this Rams team all wrong, right? Maybe we were wrong about them. No, we weren't. I haven't watched the game yet, so I can't talk to you candidly about what I saw. I just know that you missed a field goal at the end to win it, and Geno got hurt late, but he did return to the game. But clearly you didn't play well if you only scored 16 points. And that's just family business, right? We don't know how to beat the Giants for whatever reason. I can't explain it to you. Family business never makes sense. Don't try and rationalize it because you can't. It's family business, right? You just don't know how to beat the Rams. They swept you, a team that isn't going to make the playoffs, isn't very good. They beat you twice this season. That's a bitter pill to swallow, but at least you're still 6-4. I lost. My favorite team lost to the Giants twice this year. And I'm not going anywhere but home in January. So you'll probably still make the playoffs. And hopefully Geno Smith is okay. I know Kenneth Walker is going to IR. Potentially, I shouldn't say that. He's going to IR. He's a candidate to go to IR, meaning that the injury is at least a 2-week injury. If they don't think he'll be back in a month, they'll put him on short-term IR. But maybe you're trending, and you got some toughies coming up. You got San Francisco on Thanksgiving night. I know the Eagles are in there probably in 5 weeks or so. You got some big boy games coming up. This is not the time for you to be getting banged up and having Geno get banged up and, finding ways to lose games. You better find a way to start getting some shit done. Good thing for you is ain't nobody in the NFC worth a damn at the bottom of the bracket. All of those teams got 4 wins. There ain't even one team with 5 wins. You ain't got shit to worry about. Anyway, Rocky D, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Who writes, how do we stream you on BR? Will you provide the link? I mean, I don't know if there's even a link to provide. I've never done this before, so I can't even tell you. You just got to go on the app, and you know they'll have us featured on the app as soon as the game's done. So if you just go to the BR app, as soon as the game's over, we'll be the guys that are live at that time, right? But if we get a link beforehand, I'll definitely share it with you. You know, I got y'all. I'll hold, you know, if I'm asking y'all to hold me down, of course I'm gonna provide you with all the materials necessary to get the job done, right? So I don't have anything right now. Still ironing out some of the particulars, but once everything is you know confirmed and settled, if I have a link, I would definitely provide it for you guys. And on that note, I want to take this opportunity real quick. Well, let me get this super chat. Thank you for the super chat, Vincent Cole. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. My guy Vincent Cole writes, can you compare Walker and Charbonnet for me? Yeah, Walker is way more explosive and dynamic. He's got a little bit more ability to make somebody miss. And then I think his acceleration, the ability to, you know, get to top speed in about 3 steps is way different than that of Zach Charbonnet. First of all, Charbonnet doesn't have a 5th gear, right? He maxes out at that 4th gear. He's a little bit more of what I call a box runner, right? Kind of boxy. He doesn't make sharp cuts, right? They're kind of rounded. He's physical, though. He'll run through arm tackles. Both of them kind of have that ability to run through arm tackles, but I think Charbonnet's a little bit tougher in between the tackles. But he's not as fluid a runner as Kenneth Walker is. Not as quick to change directions, and isn't as fluid when he does change direction, right? Takes an extra step or 2 for him to kind of gather himself once he's changed direction. Whereas with Kenneth Walker, bam, 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 you know, foot in the ground, cut sharp, you know, this direction, that direction, and then 3 steps, top speed, right? Back to top speed. But one is dynamic and has the ability to be a home run threat every time he touches it. The other one is really solid. Not going to hit a ton of home runs. Will hit the occasional triple, but he's more of a doubles hitter, is Zach Charbonnet. And there's nothing wrong with that. He's a good back. And he's got a little pop to him, but it's not the kind that's going to strike fear in people's heart. But he's a good back. I think he's a solid change of pace because Walker is so dynamic. You bring in Charbonnet, and he's a bit of a change up, and he runs hard. Runs very hard and physical. Kyle W. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Kyle writes, every time the Eagles add a player, in my head I hear, I'm taking my talents to South Beach. Shaking my head. They built the dream team, and we're Team Barcelona. I mean, you can get all the players you want. You know, you still got to find a way to win, and you got to coach those players up, and that's what they've done. Like adding, you know, Quintores Lopez, adding Kevin Byard. You know, these are all steps that they deem necessary. Similar to last year when they felt like they needed to shore up their run defense, and they went out and got Sue and Linval Joseph. These are steps that they felt like they needed to take. They went out and got Bradley Roby, right? Because they had some injuries in the secondary. And so they've done the things that they needed to do. Their window of opportunity is wide ass open right now. And when you see that opportunity, you have to seize it. You got to go, right? And so they're doing what you're supposed to do in this situation. Don't sit there and say we're good, right? Find the players that you think can put you over the top to get you that chip, because you don't know if you'll be in that position next year. We don't know what's going to happen to the Eagles next year. There are 1 or 2 injuries at key positions from being a basic ass team. Any team in the league is. You take Mahomes from the Chiefs, who are they? You take Jalen Hurts from the Eagles, who are they? Right? You don't know what's going to happen. You take A.J. Brown from them. And I know he was a non-factor tonight, but he draws attention. They literally took their best corner and L'Jarius Sneed and said, hey, you following him. So you just took their best secondary member out of the game. because he's got to cover AJ Brown. You don't think they could have used L'Jarius Sneed on David on Devontae Smith? Absolutely, they could have. But they're like, AJ ain't getting off on us. Okay, let somebody else beat us, and that I would do the same thing. If I got that capability, let somebody else do us. It won't be him. But you don't know if you're going to be as good as you were the season before. So you got to take advantage. Windows open. You got to try and do your best to get through it. And that's what the Eagles are doing. That you got to give them credit. Their GM is not afraid to make moves, right? Alfonso Fuentes, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes, I like that a moderator timed me out for saying Miss Perry needed a Philly cheesesteak after being upset about the game. Goes to show how soft your mods are about it. Hey, look, man, I don't usually try to tell my mods how to go about their business. But again, if you're out there, if you're a mod, and if it's not offensive, it's not super disrespectful, and they're not spamming, and they're not talking about something non-football related, try to make sure that you're not, getting rid of people, if at all possible. Okay. But at the same time, understand that if you're out of pocket, you can get, timed out. It happens. But generally, I'm going to side with my mods. But again, if you're out there, if you're one of my mods, you're out there, keep this in mind. Look, people are going to say, stuff. As long as they're not super out of pocket, they're not super disrespectful, they're not saying nothing crazy, right? They're not spamming. They're not talking about something non-football related, religion, politics, all that shit. As long as they're keeping it to a minimum, right? Trash talk is going to happen. You can't get in your feelings and time people out for talking trash because it's going to happen, right? As long as they don't cross the line, we good over here, right? So let's just keep that in mind. But Alfonso, if that's all you said, you shouldn't be timed out for that. Okay. But I'm not the one that complains about mods. Like, that's not my thing. Like people like complaining about the officials. I'm not really much for complaining about mods. But again, I get it. So y'all try to play nice, okay? That's all the mods are really supposed to be in here doing, is making sure everybody's playing nice. All right? Make sure that you're not getting out of pocket. You're not too disrespectful. Just keep it clean. Touch gloves. Come out swinging. All right? Anyway, let me say this real quick. So, obviously, the content on the channel is going to be a little bit different this week. Usually, this is my bye week. Thanksgiving is my bye week. I think I'm going to save my bye week for Christmas weekend, though. I think ultimately that's what I'm going to do this year, instead of using my bye week here, because I'm still going to be working because Washington plays on Thanksgiving. So it doesn't make sense to make this a bye week. So I think I'm just going to work through the week. It won't be, normal schedule, but tomorrow, LouieTeeNetwork podcast. If you are in the LTN exclusives, you have to get all of your sheets in by Wednesday. The sheets have been up all day today. They're up right now. They're active. Turn your sheets in early. I get it. It's going to be tough. It sucks. You don't know who's playing, who's not. Everybody's got to deal with the same environment. Everybody's got to deal with the same set of circumstances. Okay? That's just how it goes on these Thanksgiving on Thanksgiving weekend, because the games are, Thursday and they're early, and I'm not going to be in the office. And so everything needs to be in, and I'm shutting the link down on Wednesday night. I'll probably leave it open for a while. I'll probably shut it down like 10 and 11 o'clock that night, because I'll be cooking all Wednesday. So you'll have time to get it in all Wednesday. But understand, when I shut that link, and, if you ever turned your sheet in, You know what it is, right? So get your stuff in early. I think there's only 4 of you in the survivor pool now. Get your survivor pool picks in early. You do not want to be eliminated because you didn't turn your pick in and you made it this far. Okay, $1,220 is staring you right in the face. If you just turn your pick in, you got a shot. You did the hard work. There were 53 of us, rather, I think it was 53 of us when that thing started, 57, 61, 59, whatever the count was. When it started and it's down to 4, you the final 4. Don't F it up. Get your pick in early, okay? If you're playing in the weekly pick'em pool, get your picks in early, right? If you're doing winners and losers, don't cost yourself some games. Don't turn your picks in at 12 o'clock on Thursday. Now you done got 3 losses for what? Don't do that, right? Get your shit in early, all right? Because it's a condensed week. Wednesday is going to be the cutoff. And I'm not doing a whole bunch of clerical stuff. Once I get around my family on Thursday and I'm kicking it with the fam and I haven't seen my family in a very long time, I'm not thinking about putting in no picks for nobody. Understand what this is. It's a holiday weekend, okay? I can't stress this enough. So get your picks in early. The sheets have been up all day, all right? So they're up now. They're active. Get your picks in, okay? Get your picks in. Because once life starts lifing, I ain't thinking about putting your picks in. I'm just going to keep it a buck. And then we're going to be live for the Louie T Network podcast on Tuesday, okay? If we don't do it Tuesday, I think what I want to do is I want to do it Wednesday. I think I want to do it Wednesday because I think I'm going to do it Wednesday during the day. We'll see. You know what? I don't think I'm going to be able to do it Wednesday. So we'll do it tomorrow because Wednesday I got a haircut appointment. Me and my son have a haircut appointment and I'm getting my hair done. So I don't see Wednesday working out. We'll get the Louie T Network podcast done tomorrow. That'll be a one and done situation, and we'll also get Commanders Nightly News live that night. In between there, we will squeeze in a quick kickback session. All right. I will remind you again then to get your picks in. And then Wednesday will just be CNN and that is it. Right. And then you won't see me again. You'll see me Thursday, obviously the next day because of the Commanders game against the Cowboys on Thanksgiving. And so what the schedule will be for that is I'll be on Bleacher Report with Law after the game for 30 minutes. It's not going to be a long breakdown. We're going to get in, we're going to get out. And then after that is done, I'm going to jump on my channel and we're going to chop it up like we always do. And then that's the last time you're going to see me potentially until Monday. Now, if I get home in enough time on Sunday night and I'm feeling froggy and and the spirit hits me, I'll jump on because I think it's a solid game. I think it's Chargers and Ravens, if I'm not mistaken. If I'm feeling good, I might jump on and we might get the thing cracking on Sunday night. If I get home, I'm tired, I just want to chill, me and my wife kicking it, I might just say to hell with it, and I'll see y'all for Monday Night Football, Vikings and Bears. So whatever the case may be, condensed week, obviously. Podcast tomorrow, CNN Live tomorrow. We're opening up the phone lines, remember. Kickback session will be crammed in between those two, probably right before we get into CNN Live. Wednesday, you'll just get the Commanders Nightly News. That'll be my prediction, all of that stuff for the game. And then Thursday, Bleacher Report breakdown with me and Law, post-game show. And then I'm live on my channel after that Bleacher Report post-game with me and Law. And then you may get me Sunday. If not, you'll see me on Monday for sure. I'll be back and we'll get this thing cracking again. So enjoy the football. Friday, you got Black Friday ball, Dolphins and Jets. They benched Zach Wilson. That could get really ugly. It could get. And this is if you're a Washington fan, this sucks because Rodgers ain't coming back. If this thing looks like it's about to spiral out of control. It's about to nosedive for the Jets. And they fought the good fight for as long as they could. It was a valiant effort, but they're about to run out of juice defensively. And this offense isn't going to pick up the pieces. And I think Rodgers, you get to a point where you're 4-9 or whatever they'll be. What the hell am I coming back for? Right? It's over. So, and it's already hella competitive in the AFC as is. It ain't the NFC. It's the AFC where, you could have 6 wins right now and still be on the outside looking. I think the Bills are 6-5 and they still on the outside looking in. It's hella competitive over there. So, yeah, I don't think Rodgers is coming back. But in any event, I digress. Reborn Soul Vibes. My girl, Rebe. How are you doing? Always a pleasure to hear from you. Oh, man. We finally beat Pat. I agree with the offense/defense player coaching analogy. I'm tired of screaming at dumb 3rd and long quarterback keepers and not running in the first and early. 9-1, let's go. You can see it. If you're an Eagles fan, you know what I'm saying. You can see it. Look, this is what I do. I overanalyze shit. This is who I am. This is who I'll always be. And I'm going to keep it a buck with you. Like last year, this was a dominant offense. And I don't think you were more talented last year. Just think it was better play calling. The creativity was crazy. It was off the charts. Some of the stuff you would do in certain situations, I'd be like, how are you supposed to stop that? Right? You got all this action on a 4th and 1. He's faking the dive on read option, right? He can pull it and run it. He can give it to him. A.J. Brown screaming across the formation. Dallas Goedert is also leaking out. You take A.J. Brown, he throws it to Goddard. You take Goddard, he throws it to A.J. Brown. If you run with both of them, he keeps it and runs it himself. If if you're too aggressive in trying to play the action that's coming across the field, he just hands it to the running back, and he there was so much you had to deal with last year. I'm like, this is impossible. You're not doing that stuff this year, but you're getting by. You're getting by. And that's all that matters at the end of the day is you're getting by. And you're 9-1, like you said. So we're going to see if – I'm telling you, man, this feels like one of those years where you go 13-4 and you get the first round bye and you come off the bye and a team like, say, Dallas is waiting on you because there'll be a wild card. Dallas is waiting on you, and they get you, or because I don't think anybody else really in the conference, I don't think Seattle is capable of beating you, if they were to somehow upset like Detroit or something like that. They've gone to Detroit and won already, so they're capable. I don't think Seattle's coming to Philadelphia and beating you. It'll have to be – I only think 3 teams in the conference is capable of beating you. Dallas, Detroit, and San Francisco. That's it. I don't think the winner of the NFC South is capable of beating you, and I don't think the Vikings not with Kirk Cousins and Justin Jefferson looks like he'll be back eventually, but Josh Dobbs isn't capable of beating you. And neither are the Seattle Seahawks. And you play them later on in Seattle, right? But if they get to the playoffs and they have to play you, it'll be in Philadelphia. I don't think they're capable of beating you anyway. So we'll see. I can't see anybody but Dallas in that divisional round game, and Dallas has to get there, but beating you, right? That would be somewhat bittersweet because, again, that would mean Dallas is in the NFC Championship game. That would mean the Cowboys are in it. But if that happens, that means they'll probably be playing San Francisco. And that means San Francisco going to the Super Bowl. So all roads to the NFC side of the bracket and representing the NFC in the Super Bowl, all signs point to having to go through Philadelphia. And as crazy as it's been and how good you've been this season, you're 1 game ahead. You lose tonight and you're tied with the Lions. Isn't that crazy? It's funny how we just overlook the Detroit Lions, and I get it. It hasn't been pretty every week. The Eagles' wins haven't been pretty all season. They went to Kansas City and did the exact same thing that you just did, and when they did it, it looked even more impressive because they had turnovers that stopped them from blowing Kansas City out. So we keep overlooking Detroit. They win a 41-38 shootout. You've won shootouts this year, right? They started out slow and had to come back from behind to beat Chicago. You started out slow and had to come back from behind to beat us. Y'all look alike. I think they're better coached than you are, though. That's the difference. But their coach is aggressive, just like your coach. I'm telling you, it's almost like looking in the damn mirror. I just think they're well coached offensively, better coached offensively than you are. Defensively, y'all are very similar. Y'all two are similar. They're a physical team. They like to beat you up in the trenches. Now that I think about it, and I'm sitting there talking, there's a lot of similarities between Detroit and Philadelphia. That's interesting. That's really interesting. Anyway, I digress. You're 9-1, Reby. Celebrate! Celebrate. That's a big win on the road at Kansas City. Down 17-7.5. It's a huge win. Let's get to the comment section. We got about 10, 15 minutes to burn. Let's do it. Rich says 12. Oh, been a member for 26 weeks. Says 12-2 this week, Lou. Send me my money tonight. If you 12-2, that's probably gonna be a winner right there. More likely than not. I can't see. Again, I told you it was a horrible week for me. I think I went 7-7 this week. So I'll be lucky if I don't have the piss cup in my possession. I'm just fighting to stay out of the piss cups, way. But 12-2 is probably a winner, but I can't see anybody else having 12-2. It was hard to navigate this week and not end up with at least 3 losses. So I'll take a look at everything, and you'll definitely begin your bread here shortly if you are, in fact, the winner, which I don't doubt. Hell of a week. Rich says, MVS just won me 105 in my best week of the season when I needed it most. Gotta love that man from now on. That's who he's been throughout his career, man. Always been a dude with some sketchy-ass hands. That's why Green Bay was in no hurry to re-sign him. When he became a free agent, let that be somebody else's problem. Yeah, he can run like the damn wind, but you don't know if he's going to catch the bitch or not. And you couldn't have drawn it up any better. One-on-one with Roby, cooked his ass, ran right by him, touchdown in his hands. And that wouldn't have been the game winner. All it would have done was given you the lead. They still would have had a minute and some change. And I don't know if they still had all 3 of their timeouts, but I think they did have all 3 of their timeouts. And all they would have needed was a field goal. So it's not like they would have won the game with that catch. It just would have given them the lead, though. I like the Chiefs' defense, though, with the lead. I just like Spags in that situation to find a way to get it done, but they never got the chance. Hank Midas writes, your tweets too funny, but that one about cutting Jahan was too dumb. Some fans, and the audacity of 500 people to like that, like, the hell are y'all talking about? Some of these fans are just ignorant, man. And I try not to engage. I treat it like barbershop conversation. You know what I'm talking about. When them dudes in a barbershop that don't know what the hell they talking about, I don't engage, right? Generally, that's what I do on Twitter. I see a lot of flagrant shit that I want to speak to, but I'm like, why? Don't engage. There's no nutritional value here. There's nothing to gain by you getting in this conversation. That one was so flagrant and foul and out of bounds, I had to say something. And I wasn't even going to attack the tweet itself. I'm going to attack the dummies that went along with this dumbass shit, right? It's just like when people get mad when somebody says something on one of these national programs. I don't get mad at the person that said it. I get mad at you because you watching it, and then you got the audacity to post and repost the shit. That's what they want. So I'm gonna speak to you because you're the problem. Not them. They doing what they supposed to do. They making money. They make money by being controversial, by saying something that'll attract eyeballs. That's all Skip Bayless has been doing his entire career. Saying shit that he knows is going to get under people's skin because it's going to force them to watch. Whether you love him or you hate him, as long as you feel some type of way, he's doing his job, which is why they're willing to pay Skip Bayless millions upon millions of dollars, because he gets people to watch, because he says the most ridiculous shit. Same thing with Colin Cowherd. He says the most outlandish shit. Half the time, he doesn't even know what the hell he's talking about. But guess what? You keep coming back because you want Colin to eat crow that he's not going to eat. You want Skip Bayless to eat crow that he's not going to eat. Or if he does eat it, he'll eat that crow and vomit it up a week later and say something even more ridiculous. Oh, I can't wait to see what Skip has to say tomorrow. Okay, well, he's won, right? Let's see. Niners fan. The Eagles are the best team in the NFC, not us. If you believe that, then so be it, right? I'm not going to continue to try to convince you your team is better than the Philadelphia Eagles. You play them in a few weeks. We'll see, right? You don't have to keep speaking it into existence. Do you want them to be better than your team? Because if so, it can come true. It can be so, right? I don't know if they're better than the 49ers or not. I think when healthy, which the 49ers are right now, I think they're a dangerous team. Haven't watched the Buccaneers game. Losing Talanoa Hufanga is a huge loss, but we'll see what happens. Samuel Brito says, great, amazing. We're going to have to hear Eagles fans' mouth for the rest of the season. I just love my life. If Eagles fans talking trash impacts you that much, you got to reassess your life's priorities and start aligning things to make it so that doesn't impact you as much, right? They're going to talk shit regardless. First of all, we trash. I don't know who your team is. You could be a Washington fan. You could be a Giants fan, whatever. You're right. They're going to talk regardless. If your team's not good, there ain't much, and you ain't beat them, it's not much you can say. Even when we beat them last year, their thing was, oh, you trash. You ain't make the playoffs. That was your Super Bowl. Like, if you're not good, I just want to be, and this is why I don't really engage in a ton of trash talk. My favorite team has trained me to keep my mouth shut for the most part. I'm at the point now where I pick my spots, pick my spots. But I don't really engage in serious trash talk because they never really back it up for me. So what's the point, But I told you I got a lot of shit in the chamber, man. A lot of stuff that I could fire off. And I never get to do it, which is probably a good thing because I'm petty. I don't think y'all realize how petty I am. I'm extremely petty. So, letting me out and just turning me loose and saying, hey, man, go do your thing. It could get really nasty out here, man. It could get really, really ugly quick. So, as long as the Eagles don't win, or the Cowboys for that matter, as long as they don't win the Super Bowl, I don't give a shit what they do. They win the Super Bowl, that's when it's like, oh, shit, here we go. Now, again, they're playing well. I was more afraid of them winning the Super Bowl last year. I'm not as afraid of them. And maybe them not being as good this year lends itself to them winning the Super Bowl this year. Because there was always in the back of your mind last year, you either got to deal with Burrow or Mahomes. You ain't beating neither one of them. I didn't think the Eagles would beat neither one of them, personally. Remember, Mahomes had the ankle, so that compromised him last year. But I didn't think they were capable of beating either one of those teams. There is no Burrow. Mahomes might not be there. Allen probably won't be there. Unless it's Lamar, whomever's representing the AFC, and we can talk all this shit, it's probably going to be these same damn Chiefs. And if it is, they're limited. Whomever comes out of the NFC, I think is going to be more prepared to beat whomever comes out of the AFC. The AFC as a conference may be more competitive top to bottom, but I think the NFC is more top heavy. I think the teams at the top of the NFC are better than the teams that are at the top of the AFC. I think as a conference, top to bottom, and a lot of this has to do with quarterback play. We've talked about this already. The best quarterbacks reside, and I think in this case, this year too, the best defenses reside in the AFC. And I think that's why you see so many good teams. Steelers defense is really good. Browns defense is really good. Bengals defense is really good. You know, Chiefs defense is really good. That's why those teams are winning. Less about what they're doing offensively, more about what they're doing defensively. Dolphins have a really good offense, right? And so you look at that conference, you know, they got a lot of strong defenses, a lot of good quarterback play. So the conference as a whole better, right? On the NFC side, not a deep conference at all whatsoever. But when you look at Philadelphia, San Francisco, and Detroit at the top, and then with Dallas being, you know, the fourth team, those four teams I think may be better as in a, you know, as upper echelon talent than everybody outside of the top two teams in the AFC, Baltimore and Kansas City. I think I would take Dallas versus just about everybody else in the AFC, not named Kansas City and Baltimore. I would take Detroit over just about everybody on that side of the bracket. They've already beaten Kansas City, and except Baltimore. They went to Baltimore already, got their ass whooped. Okay, so I don't know if I take them against Baltimore, but and that's kind of how I feel. Whereas I don't know if I would take any of those teams over the top four teams, you know, consistently over the NFC. So I think if you could just make it to the Super Bowl, you got a legitimate shot at winning it this year. Last year, I was like, I don't see the NFC beating the AFC. I think it's the other way around this year. You just got to get there. We'll see what happens. Mike Leslie, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Mike writes, if y'all help us with a win versus the Cowboys, I'm giving you 50 on the video after LOL. Hey, look, man, don't look for us to do none of your dirty work. We are not capable of doing. Now, I will say every even week, we look like a different team. It's the odd weeks where we look like absolute garbage can juice. So week 12, we might be due for a solid performance. Solid probably is not going to get it done, but we're going to compete. I don't expect to get blown out in this game. And I've asked nicely, and I've talked to the football gods already, and they said they'll see what they can do. They said they're not going to make me any promises, but they sounded like they was going to try to look out for the kid. So I'm feeling really positive going into Thursday's game in terms of, look, the bars, I set the bar extremely low, right? I'm not asking for a win. I'm just asking for to not be embarrassed on national television in front of everybody. And I think the football gods are going to comply, right? I think they're going to look out for me. I've been really nice this year. I've behaved myself, right? And I haven't done anything flagrant, and I haven't been too out of pocket. And they've acknowledged that. They've told me, hey, you've behaved yourself this year. And I said, well, you know, let me get some kickback, man. Look out for the kid. They was like, all right, man, we'll see what we can do. I ain't making you no promises. Hey, look, that's all I can ask. But I'm going to hold you to that. I'm going to hold you to that. If we pull off the upset special, I'll be looking for you, Mike. I'm going to be out here like this with it. Hey, where Mike at? Oh, man, appreciate you, Mike. Let's see. Kevin writes, Eagles have to be one of the most unbearable teams in the league. From the fans to the head coach, tons of whining and excuses. Didn't deserve to win, but I'm sure they'll celebrate like the Super Bowl. But you can't take that angle, Kevin. I know you don't like them, but you got to give them credit. Why is it so hard as a fan? And I'm not just talking about, you know, fans of teams who can't stand the Eagles. I'm just talking about in general. Why is it so hard for a fan of a rival team to just give credit where credit is due? Why is that so hard? Why can't you just acknowledge that the Eagles are well coached? They built up a mental toughness and a callous in close ball games to find a way to strain and make the winning plays. Why can't you just say, damn, A.J. Brown is good. Damn, Swift is good. Damn, Devontae Smith is good. Damn, Jalen Hurts is good. Damn, that offensive line is good. Damn, Hassan Reddick is good. Damn, Darius Slay is good. Like, why can't you just admit that they're really good? Look, lucky is a part of the game. It's better to be lucky than good sometimes. It's okay to acknowledge they're good. Okay? They're really good, Kevin. And look, what I can't stand is when they lose, they whine, right? Like you want to blame the officials or this. Like, take your loss like a man, because you win a lot of games, and a lot of people could feel the same exact way in a lot of these games where they feel like the officials are just missing calls. We saw the first touchdown of the game. That's the same holding call they called on Travis Kelce. You're not going to call it for the Eagles when they score a touchdown, though? That's clearly holding on Olamide Zaccheaus. It is what it is, man. They did the same thing in the Dolphins game. They called the touchdown back that Tua threw. The same exact holding penalty transpired on a run by DeAndre Swift for 15 yards, and they went on to score on that drive. It would have been 1st and 20. They might not have scored on that drive with a holding penalty call. Shit happens, okay? Deal with it, right? Calls go both ways. They called a pass interference late in the game that helped the Chiefs out, right? The Chiefs got calls. They called a roughing the passer. I'm not sure if that was roughing the passer, right? Shit happens. I always say it balances itself out normally. The only time it didn't balance itself out was the Dolphins game, where you're like, bro, 13 penalties to none? Come on, guys. Seriously. But normally that shit balances. That's why I'm like, don't complain about that. When it works in your favor, you know, I always tell you, when the officials benefit us, I tell you right off the bat, hey, the officials was looking out for the kid tonight. Hey, I appreciate it. And when they were bad, I'll say, hey, they were bad, but we didn't make enough plays, because that's generally what it comes down to. You can blame the officials if you want, but you didn't make enough plays. The Chiefs still should have won the game. You can't blame the officials, you know. Make a play. The Eagles did, the Chiefs didn't. Just give them some credit, Kevin. I know it's hard, but it doesn't have to be that hard. All right. Anyway, I digress. We've hit our 1 hour and 20-minute mark, so I will get out of here. Big win, however, for the Philadelphia Eagles. My goodness, 9-1. I honestly did not see them coming into Arrowhead and winning this game. And when it was 17-0, I thought to myself, great half of football for Kansas City, but I don't trust them in the second half. So I never thought the game was over. And I will tell you this. After they got those 2 stops, the Chiefs defensively I'm talking about, and the offense had opportunities, and they got nothing done. And I think those were 2 drives that might have been destroyed by penalties, but they didn't get anything done. I said, those are some wasted opportunities. You may regret that. But it wasn't until Kelce fumbled when I said, hey, they're about to lose this game. Because that was going, again, I already told you, that reminded me so much of Denver and Minnesota last night. Minnesota's going for the kill shot. They got this game right where they wanted. It's 17-12. They score this touchdown, it is over, right? Or a matter of fact, I think it might have been 14-9 at that point. They score this touchdown, it is over. He fumbles. Denver recovers. They get a field goal. I think it was 17-9. They got the field goal. They cut it to 17-12. He throws the interception on the next possession. They kick another field goal. Now it's 17-15, and then we know what ends up happening, right? That's what that felt like. It's 17-14. You score that touchdown. I think it was about 7-8 minutes left to go in the game when he fumbled. So if he doesn't fumble, it's 1st and goal. Clock's running, probably under 7 minutes, maybe under 6 minutes. You get the touchdown, and 10-point game with 6 minutes ago. That's ball game. With the way the Chiefs defensively have been playing, Jalen Hurts had less than 160 yards passing tonight. Like, it was that kind of night. But they found a way to win. That's what the good teams do. So, Eagles are 9-1, an NFL best 9-1. The The Chiefs are now 7-3, and the Ravens now hold the best record in the AFC at 8-3. So they're up a half game on these Chiefs. And if you're a Chiefs fan, this one stings. But I think it highlights the problem that I thought they should have addressed at the trade deadline. They said they did. Hey, we got McCall Hardman. Okay. We'll see how that works out for you. But we'll see how it goes. Anyway, I digress. That's going to do it for me, your man Louie T, here on Monday Night Football Overtime. What a dandy we were treated to tonight. Eagles defeat the Super Bowl defending champion Kansas City Chiefs 21-17 and improve to an NFL best 9-1. Chiefs drop to 7-3. That's going to do it for me, your man Louie T. Until next time, you guys have a good one. Take care.